Korean Mafia boss got into her taxi by mistake and realized she was his new destiny. Welcome back to the channel, family. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell so you never miss these incredible stories. Drop a like if you're ready for this one, and tell me in the comments, what state or country are you watching from? Now let's get into it. The rain was coming down in sheets over Seoul, turning the city into a blur of neon lights and wet asphalt. Jinwoo Park stood outside the Lotte Hotel, his tailored suit already soaked, blood trickling from a cut above his left eye. Behind him, chaos, gunshots, screaming, the remnants of a meeting that had gone very, very wrong. He needed to disappear. Now, a taxi pulled up to the curb. Not the one he'd called, but he didn't have time to be picky. He yanked open the back door and threw himself inside. Drive. Now. Anywhere. The driver turned around and Jinwoo found himself staring at a woman, mid-30s maybe, dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, eyes that widened when she saw the blood on his face. What the? Please, just drive. Something in his voice must have convinced her. She turned back to the wheel and pulled into traffic just as three men in dark suits burst through the hotel doors, looking frantically in every direction. Jinwoo slumped in the back seat, heart pounding. You're bleeding, the woman said, eyes flicking to the rearview mirror. I'm aware. Should I take you to a hospital? No. No hospitals. The police? Definitely not the police. She was quiet for a moment. The windshield wipers beat a steady rhythm against the rain. So, you're one of those. One of what? The kind of passenger I should probably kick out of my cab. Jinwoo almost laughed. Probably. Yes. But she didn't stop. Didn't pull over. Just kept driving through the rain-soaked streets, putting distance between him and the chaos he'd left behind. Where am I taking you? Jinwoo realized he didn't know. His safe house was compromised. His men were scattered. The meeting had been an ambush. Someone had betrayed him, and until he figured out who, he couldn't trust anyone. I don't know, he admitted. You don't know. I need somewhere quiet, somewhere no one would think to look for someone like me. The woman was silent for a long moment. I know a place, she finally said, but you're going to have to trust me. Jinwoo looked at the back of her head. This stranger, this taxi driver who had every reason to dump him on the side of the road. Why would you help me? I haven't decided if I am yet, but you don't look like a man with a lot of options. She wasn't wrong. What's your name? He asked. Yuna. Yuna Kim. What's yours? He hesitated. His name was known, feared, spoken in whispers throughout the Seoul underworld. Jinwoo. Just Jinwoo. For now. She nodded, accepting that. All right. Just Jinwoo. Let's get you somewhere safe. The place Yuna took him was a small apartment above a laundromat in a working-class neighborhood of Mapo-gu, the kind of neighborhood where people minded their own business and didn't ask questions. This is your apartment? Jinwoo asked as she led him up the narrow stairs. No, it belongs to my grandmother. She passed last year. I've been meaning to rent it out, but she unlocked the door and pushed it open. The apartment was small, a single room with a kitchenette, a bathroom barely big enough to turn around in, and a bed tucked into the corner, but it was clean, warm, safe. It's not much, Yuna said. It's perfect. She watched as he lowered himself onto a worn chair, wincing at pain she couldn't see. Take off your jacket. What? Your jacket? You're hurt more than just your face. I can tell. Jinwoo hesitated, then complied. Beneath his expensive suit jacket, his white shirt was stained red on the left side. Yuna sucked in a breath. That needs stitches. It's fine. It's not fine. You've been stabbed. Grazed. There's a difference. She disappeared into the bathroom and came back with a first aid kit that looked older than she was. My grandmother was a nurse during the war, she explained, kneeling beside him. She always kept supplies, just in case. The Korean War. She was 16 when it started, 19 when it ended. Saw things no one should see. Yuna worked efficiently, cleaning the wound, applying antiseptic, closing it with butterfly bandages when it became clear stitches weren't actually necessary. You've done this before, Jinwoo observed. I have a 12-year-old son who thinks he's invincible. You learn. A son. Is that a problem? No, just unexpected. She moved to his face, cleaning the cut above his eye with surprising gentleness. You're going to have a scar. I have many. I'm sure you do. When she was finished, she sat back on her heels and looked at him. Really looked. Who are you, Jinwoo? Really? It's complicated. Most things are. He met her eyes. They were dark, intelligent, unflinching. I'm someone who makes very bad decisions, he said. Someone who's hurt people. Someone who probably doesn't deserve your help. But I'm trying to figure out if I can be someone else. Yuna studied him for a long moment. That cut on your face. The stab wound. Someone tried to kill you tonight. Yes. Why? Because I trusted the wrong people. Because I've made enemies. Because the life I've built is falling apart. and I don't know how to stop it. Are you a criminal? The question was direct, unflinching. He owed her the same. Yes. She nodded slowly, as if she'd already known. Are you going to bring trouble to my grandmother's apartment? I'll try not to. That's not exactly reassuring. It's the best I can offer. She stood and walked to the door. There's food in the kitchen. It's probably expired. There's a convenience store on the corner if you need anything. I have to get back to work. You're leaving? I have a son to feed and a taxi that doesn't drive itself. She paused at the door. I'll be back tomorrow to check on you. Try not to die before then. And then she was gone. Jinwoo sat alone in the small apartment, listening to the rain, wondering how his life had come to this, hiding in a dead woman's apartment, patched up by a taxi driver, with no idea who had tried to kill him or what to do next. But for the first time in a very long time, he felt something unexpected: hope. Jinwoo Park had never intended to become a crime boss. As a child, he'd wanted to be a teacher. His mother had been one. Elementary school, 3rd grade, beloved by everyone who knew her. She used to bring him to her classroom on weekends, let him help her organize supplies, grade simple papers. But his mother died when he was 12, cancer. Quick and brutal and devastating. His father, a low-level enforcer for the park syndicate, no relation to Jinwoo's family, the name was a coincidence that would later seem like fate, fell apart after her death. Drinking, gambling, debts that spiraled beyond control. When Jinwoo was 15, his father came home one night with 2 men in dark suits. "This is my son," his father had said, voice slurred with alcohol. "He's smart, strong, he can work off what I owe." And that was it. Jinwoo's childhood ended that night. He was handed over like payment on a debt, absorbed into the syndicate, trained to be useful. He was useful, too useful. He had a mind for strategy, for seeing 3 moves ahead. By 20, he was running operations. By 25, he'd killed his first man, a rival who'd threatened the organization. By 30, when the old boss died of a heart attack, Jinwoo was the obvious choice to take over. He told himself it was survival. Told himself he had no choice. Told himself the people he hurt deserved it. But there were nights, like tonight, alone in this small apartment, when he wondered if any of that was true. Yuna came back the next morning, as promised. She brought food. Real food. Not the expired cans from the kitchen. Rice, soup, vegetables. She also brought fresh bandages and antiseptic. "You look terrible," she said by way of greeting. "I feel worse," she said about changing his bandages, efficient and impersonal. "Your son," Jinwoo said. "What's his name?" "Minjun." "And his father?" Yuna's hands stilled for a moment, then resumed their work. "Gone. Left when Minjun was 3. Found someone younger, richer, less complicated." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. We're better off without him." "Still, it must be difficult, raising a child alone." "It is, but Minjun is worth it. He's everything to me." She finished with the bandages and sat back. "There. You'll live." "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. I have questions." "I figured you might." She sat in the chair across from him, arms crossed. "Last night you said you were a criminal." "What kind of criminal?" Jinwoo considered lying, softening the truth. But something about this woman made him want to be honest. "I run an organization. Gambling, loan sharking, some smuggling. We control several districts in Seoul." "So you're Yakuza, Mafia, something like that." "We call ourselves a syndicate." "The Park family." Her eyes widened slightly. "The Park family. I've heard of you. Most people have. You're supposed to be dangerous." "I am dangerous." "Then why are you hiding in my grandmother's apartment bleeding from stab wounds?" "Because someone in my organization betrayed me. Set up a meeting that was actually an ambush. I barely escaped." "Who?" "I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out." Yuna was quiet, processing. "Why didn't you call your men? Your people? Why did you get in my taxi?" "Your taxi was there. I was desperate. As for my men, I don't know who I can trust anymore. Someone close to me did this. Someone who knew my movements, my plans." "So you trust a random taxi driver but not your own organization. You have no reason to betray me. No stake in my power struggles. No ambition that benefits from my death. I also have no reason to help you, and yet you did. Why?" Yuna stood and walked to the window, looking down at the street below. "My grandmother used to tell me stories about the war, about the terrible things people did to survive. But she also told me about the moments of grace, strangers helping strangers, enemies showing mercy. She said those moments were what kept her human." She turned back to face him. "I don't know why I helped you. Maybe because you looked lost. Maybe because my grandmother's voice was in my head, telling me to be kind even when it doesn't make sense. Maybe I'm just stupid." "You're not stupid. We'll see." She headed for the door. "I have to work. I'll bring more food tonight. Try to rest." "Yuna," she paused. "Why do you drive a taxi? You're clearly intelligent. You could do anything." Something flickered in her eyes. Pain, maybe, or resignation. Sometimes life doesn't give you the options you want. You work with what you have. And then she was gone again. The next few days fell into a rhythm. Jinwoo stayed in the apartment healing. Yuna came by twice a day, morning and night, bringing food, changing his bandages, checking that he was still alive. They talked more with each visit, small things at first. Favorite foods, movies they'd seen, books they'd read. Jinwoo was surprised to discover she was an avid reader. Russian literature, mostly, Dostoevsky and Tolstoy. Gradually, the conversations deepened. "Tell me about Minjun," Jinwoo said one evening. Yuna's face softened in a way he hadn't seen before. "He's 12. Smart like his mother." She smiled slightly. "Stubborn too. He wants to be a doctor. Spends all his time studying, reading medical textbooks he can barely understand." "That's impressive." "It is. But I worry. Medical school is expensive. I don't know if I can give him that future. There are scholarships, programs. I know. He's working hard. His grades are perfect, but it's not enough just to be smart. You need connections, resources, things we don't have." Jinwoo thought about the money he had. Millions. In accounts around the world. Money he'd earned through violence and fear and pain. "Maybe I could—" "Don't." Her voice was sharp. "I don't want your money. I don't want anything from your world. I was just going to offer to help. Your help comes with strings. Always. That's how people like you operate." Jinwoo felt the sting of her words. "You're right. I'm sorry." Yuna sighed. "No. I'm sorry. That was unfair. You've been different than I expected." "Different how?" "I don't know. Quieter. Sadder. Not like the scary crime boss I imagined. I'm still that person. I've done terrible things. I know. But maybe that's not all you are." She left shortly after, but her words stayed with him. Maybe that's not all you are. He'd never considered that possibility. On the 5th day, Jinwoo's phone rang. He'd been avoiding it. Powered down. Hidden. Untraceable. But he knew he couldn't hide forever. He turned it on. 53 missed calls. 200 messages. The most recent was from Sang-hoon, his most trusted lieutenant. "Boss, where are you? We've been going crazy. The Chois are claiming responsibility for the attack. They're saying you're dead. The organization is falling apart. Please, if you're alive, contact me. I need to know what to do." Jinwoo stared at the message. The Chois, his rivals. Of course they'd claim credit, whether they were actually responsible or not. But something didn't sit right. The ambush had been too precise, too well planned. The Choi were many things, but they weren't subtle. This had required inside information. He called Sang-hoon back. "Boss!" The relief in Sang-hoon's voice was palpable. "Thank God. We thought—" "I'm alive, but I need you to keep that quiet. Tell no one." "Sir, someone inside the organization set me up. Until I know who, I can't risk exposure. I need you to be my eyes and ears. Watch everyone. Listen to everything. Report only to me." "Understood. But sir—" "Where are you? What should I tell the others? Tell them the rumors of my death are premature. Tell them I'm handling things personally. And Sang-hoon, yes, if you betray me, I'll know. And I'll kill you myself." "I would never, sir. You know that. I used to think I knew a lot of things. I'm not sure anymore." He hung up. That night, Yuna came by later than usual. She looked tired, drained, like something had happened. "What's wrong?" Jinwoo asked. "Nothing. You're lying." She set down the food she'd brought and sank into the chair. "It's nothing. Just a difficult passenger. Tried to skip out on the fare. When I confronted him, he got aggressive." Jinwoo's blood went cold. "Aggressive how?" "It's fine." He yelled. Made some threats. I handled it. "What kind of threats?" "The usual. Said he knew where I worked, where I lived. Said I'd regret disrespecting him." Jinwoo was on his feet before he realized it, ignoring the pull of his healing wounds. "Give me a description." "What?" "The man. What did he look like?" "Jinwoo, it's fine. This happens sometimes. Drunk passengers, angry people. It's part of the job." "It shouldn't be. Maybe not, but it is. I can take care of myself. I don't doubt that. But you shouldn't have to." She looked at him strangely. "Why do you care?" It was a good question. Why did he care? This woman was nothing to him, a stranger who'd helped him by chance. He had no obligation to her, no reason to be concerned. And yet, "I don't know," he admitted. "But I do." Yuna held his gaze for a long moment. "You're a strange man, Jinwoo." "So I've been told." "That's not entirely an insult." She stood and began unpacking the food. "Come on, eat something. You're still healing." They ate together in comfortable silence. And when she left that night, Jinwoo found himself watching the door for a long time after she'd gone. A week passed, then 2. Jinwoo's wounds healed. His strength returned. He should have left, gone back to his world, dealt with the betrayal, restored order to his organization. But he didn't. He told himself it was strategic. He needed more information, needed to be sure before he made his move. But really he knew it was something else, something to do with a taxi driver who brought him food and changed his bandages and talked to him like he was a person instead of a monster. He started helping around the apartment, cleaning, organizing. Small things, but it gave him something to do. He also started going out, careful, disguised, different clothes, a cap pulled low, nothing like the expensive suits he usually wore. He explored the neighborhood, the laundromat below, the convenience store on the corner, the small park where elderly men played chess. It was a different world, a world where people worked and struggled and lived without the violence that defined his existence. He'd forgotten such a world existed. One afternoon, he was walking back to the apartment when he saw Yuna's taxi parked at the corner. She was inside, head resting against the steering wheel. He knocked on the window. She jumped, then saw it was him and opened the door. "What are you doing here?" "Walking." "What's wrong?" "Nothing, just tired." "You're crying." She wiped her eyes quickly. "I'm fine." "You're not." She was quiet for a moment, then something in her broke. Minjun's school called. There's a program, a summer science camp at Seoul National University, pre-med track, incredibly competitive. He got in. "That's wonderful. It costs 3 million won." Jin-woo understood. "And you don't have it." "I have rent, food, bills. I'm barely making it as it is. But this camp, it could change everything for him. Open doors, give him opportunities I could never provide." "So you find the money." "Where? I don't have savings. I don't have family. My ex-husband claims he's broke, which is a lie. But fighting him in court costs money I don't have either. There are other ways." "Like what?" "Loans I can't pay back. Credit cards that will drown me in interest." She laughed bitterly. "Or maybe I should ask the crime boss hiding in my grandmother's apartment for a handout. That would solve everything, right?" The words hurt more than Jin-woo expected. "I offered before. You refused. Because your money is dirty. Because taking it would make me part of your world. Because Min-jun would be paying for that camp with blood money. Money is money." "No, it's not. Not to me." She started the car. "I need to get back to work. More fares, more money. It's the only way." Jin-woo stepped back and watched her drive away. That night, he made a decision. The next morning, Jin-woo called Sang-hoon. "I need information on someone." Quietly, no paper trail. "Who?" "A man named Kim Tae-hyun. Used to be married to a woman named Yoona Kim. They have a son together, Min-jun. I need to know everything about him. Where he works, where he lives, how much money he actually has." "Sir? This seems personal." "It is. Can you do it?" "Of course. I'll have everything within 48 hours. "Good. And Sang-hoon, any leads on who betrayed me?" "We're getting closer. Several of the junior lieutenants have been acting strange, meeting with people they shouldn't be meeting with. I'm having them watched. Keep me informed." He hung up and waited. Yoona didn't come by that day, or the next. On the third day, Jin-woo went looking for her. He found her taxi parked outside a modest apartment building in Yeongdeung-pogu. The building was old, weathered, the kind of place where people lived because they had no other choice. He waited. An hour later, Yoona emerged. She looked worse than before. Dark circles under her eyes, shoulders slumped with exhaustion. "How long have you been here?" she asked when she saw him. "A while." "Why? You didn't come by?" "I was worried. I've been working, double shifts, trying to make up the money. For the camp and everything else." She unlocked her taxi and got in. Jin-woo got in the passenger side. "What are you doing?" "Coming with you. I have to work. Then I'll ride along." "You can't just—" "I can. I am. Drive." She stared at him for a long moment, then laughed despite herself. "You're insane." "Probably." She started the car. They drove through Seoul, picking up passengers, dropping them off. Jin-woo stayed quiet, watching the city pass, watching Yoona work. She was good at her job. Professional, friendly when friendliness was wanted, quiet when it wasn't. She knew the city intimately. Shortcuts, traffic patterns, the unwritten rules of Seoul's chaotic streets. Between fares, they talked. "Why do you drive at night?" Jin-woo asked. "It's more dangerous. Better tips. Drunk businessmen trying to impress each other. They throw money around. But the risks? I know the risks. I've been doing this for 8 years. I know which fares to take and which to avoid. Usually, nothing's certain. You take chances. That's life." A silence fell between them. "I found information about your ex-husband," Jin-woo said. Yoona's hands tightened on the wheel. "What?" "Kim Tae-hyun. He works for a tech company in Gangnam. Senior management, salary of 90 million won a year. He owns a penthouse apartment, drives a Mercedes, takes vacations to Europe twice a year." "How do you know this?" "I have resources. You had someone investigate my ex-husband. I wanted to understand the situation." "The situation is none of your business. He told you he couldn't afford child support." "That's a lie." "I know it's a lie. I've always known. But proving it costs money, lawyers, court fees, time I don't have. I can help with that. I told you I don't want your help, not money. Something better. Yuna pulled over and turned to face him. What are you talking about? Your ex-husband is living comfortably while you struggle to feed your son. While you work double shifts to pay for opportunities he should be helping provide. That's not right. Life isn't fair. No, but sometimes it can be corrected. What does that mean? Jinwoo met her eyes. It means I can convince him to do the right thing. Convince him how? I can be very persuasive. The implication hung in the air. No, Yuna said firmly. Absolutely not. I won't have you threatening my son's father. He abandoned you. He abandoned Minjun. He's still Minjun's father. If something happened to him, if Minjun ever found out I was involved, he wouldn't have to know. I would know. That's enough. She started driving again. I appreciate what you're trying to do. In your own twisted way, you're trying to help. But this isn't your problem to solve. It's mine, and I'll solve it my way. Jinwoo was quiet. I'm sorry, he finally said. I overstepped. You did. But thank you for caring, even if the way you show it is terrifying. Despite herself, she smiled slightly. Now shut up and let me work. Hey family, quick reminder. If you're enjoying this story, make sure you're subscribed and drop a like. Things are about to get really intense. Now let's continue. Another week passed. Jinwoo started helping more directly. He couldn't give Yuna money. She wouldn't accept it, but he found other ways. He started staying with Minjun in the evenings when Yuna worked late. At first, the boy was suspicious. Who was this strange man his mother had befriended? But Jinwoo was patient. He helped with homework, made dinner, badly at first, but he improved. Listened to Minjun talk about school, about science, about his dreams of becoming a doctor. Why do you want to be a doctor? Jinwoo asked one evening. Minjun looked at him seriously. Because doctors help people. They fix what's broken. They save lives. That's a good reason. My mom works so hard, all the time. She's always tired. She thinks I don't notice, but I do. I want to make enough money someday that she never has to work again, that she can rest. Jinwoo's chest tightened. You're a good son. I try to be. The boy was remarkable, intelligent, driven, mature beyond his years. He reminded Jinwoo of himself at that age, before his mother died. Before his life fell apart. Maybe that's why he cared so much. Maybe he saw a chance to help someone he couldn't help back then. Sang-hoon called with an update. We've identified the traitor, sir. Jinwoo's blood went cold. Who? Lieutenant Kang. He's been meeting with the Chois for months. We found communications, money transfers. He sold you out for 200 million won and a promise of territory. Lieutenant Kang, a man Jinwoo had known for 15 years. Had trusted. Had promoted. Are you certain? 100%. We have everything documented. Jinwoo closed his eyes. Where is he now? Being watched. Awaiting your orders? Don't do anything yet. I'll handle this personally. Sir, are you sure? It could be dangerous. I'm sure. Prepare a meeting. 3 days from now, somewhere private. And Sang-hoon. Yes? Thank you. For your loyalty. Always, sir. He hung up. It was time to go back. That night, he told Yuna. They were on the roof of her apartment building. A place she'd shown him weeks ago. A secret spot where she came to think, to escape, to breathe. I have to leave, Jinwoo said. Yuna was quiet. When? 3 days. Because of your organization? Yes. I found who betrayed me. I have to deal with it. Deal with it. That's a very clean way of putting it. It's what it is. She hugged her knees to her chest. Will you kill him? The person who betrayed you? I don't know. Probably. And that doesn't bother you? It does. More than it used to. But there are rules in my world. If I show weakness, others will try what he tried. More people will get hurt. So you hurt people to prevent other people from getting hurt. Something like that. That's twisted logic. It's the only logic I know. They sat in silence, watching the city lights below. I'm going to miss you, Yuna said quietly. God help me, but I am. I'll miss you too. Will I ever see you again? I don't know. My world isn't safe for people like you. People I care about tend to become targets. So that's it? You disappear back into your crime empire and I go back to driving my taxi. That's probably for the best. For who? Jinwoo didn't have an answer. Can I ask you something? Yuna said. Anything. That night, when you got into my taxi, why didn't you call your own people? You must have had drivers, bodyguards, people who could help. I told you, I didn't know who I could trust. But it's more than that, isn't it? Jinwoo was quiet for a long moment. I think part of me was hoping I wouldn't make it. Part of me saw this as a way out. If I died, it would all be over. The violence, the guilt, the endless cycle. I wasn't trying to survive. I was just running. And then you got in my taxi. And then I got in your taxi. And you drove me to safety. And you treated my wounds. And you talked to me like I was human. You are human. I forget sometimes. Yuna moved closer to him. Close enough that their shoulders touched. What if you didn't go back? What? What if you just didn't? Stayed here. Started over. Left all of that behind. It doesn't work like that. Why not? Because I have responsibilities. People who depend on me. A structure that would collapse without leadership. If I disappear, there will be a war. Innocent people will get caught in the crossfire. So you go back to protect them. Yes, even though you hate it. Even though it's destroying you. Yes. Yuna turned to face him. You're not who I thought you were. I don't know who I am anymore. I do. She put her hand on his face. You're a man who got lost, who did terrible things because he thought he had no choice. But you do have a choice. You always have a choice. Yuna, I'm not asking you to stay. I know you can't. But promise me something. What? Promise me you'll try. Try to be different. Try to find a way out. Don't just accept that this is all you can be. Jinwoo looked at her, this woman who had seen him at his worst, and still believed he could be better. I promise, he said, and then he kissed her. It was soft at first, tentative. Two people who had been alone for too long, afraid to reach for connection. But then it deepened, became something else, something hungry and desperate and real. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathing hard. I shouldn't have done that, Jinwoo said. No, but I'm glad you did. This doesn't change anything. I know. I still have to leave. I know that too. She leaned her head against his shoulder. Just give me tonight. Tomorrow you can go back to being a crime boss, but tonight just be Jinwoo. Just be the man who helps my son with homework and burns rice and makes me laugh. Jinwoo put his arm around her. I can do that. They stayed on the roof until dawn. The next 2 days were painful. Jinwoo helped where he could, fixed a broken cabinet, taught Minjun some chess. The boy was a quick learner, cooked dinner, successfully this time. He also made arrangements, quiet ones. Things Yuna would never accept if she knew. An anonymous scholarship fund for Minjun, enough to cover the summer camp and much more beyond. A trust, established in a way that couldn't be traced back to him. Money that would appear to come from a charitable organization. Clean money, he'd made sure of that. Investments and legitimate businesses he'd been building on the side for years, just in case. He told himself it wasn't buying affection. It wasn't even about Yuna. It was about Minjun, about giving a kid with promise a chance at the future he deserved. But he knew that wasn't entirely true. On his last night, Yuna made dinner. It was simple. Kimchi jjigae, rice, some vegetables, but it was the best meal Jinwoo had eaten in years. Minjun was there too, chattering about a science project, oblivious to the tension between the adults. Mr. Jinwoo, will you come to my school's science fair? It's in 2 months. I'm presenting a project on cellular regeneration. Jinwoo looked at Yuna. She gave a tiny shake of her head. Don't promise what you can't deliver. I'll try, he said, but I might be busy with work. What work do you do? I manage things. Businesses. That sounds boring. Jinwoo laughed. Sometimes it is. After dinner, Minjun went to his room to study. Yuna walked Jinwoo to the door. This is it then. This is it. She handed him a small package. What's this? My grandmother's lucky charm. She carried it through the war, said it kept her safe. Jinwoo opened it. Inside was a small jade pendant, worn smooth with age. I can't take this. You can. I want you to have it. Yuna, don't argue. Just take it and think of me. Think of us. When things get dark, Jinwoo slipped the pendant into his pocket. I'll come back, he said. When this is over, when it's safe, don't make promises you can't keep. I'm not. I'm making a promise I'll die to keep if I have to. She kissed him one last time. Then don't die. That's an order. Yes, ma'am. He walked down the stairs, out into the night, toward the life he'd tried to leave behind. But something was different now. Something had changed. For the first time in decades, he had something to live for. The meeting with Lieutenant Kang took place in a warehouse on the outskirts of Incheon. Jinwoo arrived alone, unarmed. He wanted to see Kang's face when the man realized his betrayal had been discovered. Kang was already there, flanked by 2 bodyguards. He looked confident, smug. Jinwoo, I heard you were dead. Rumors of my death were exaggerated. Clearly, Kang smiled. I assume you know why I did it. Money, power, the usual. Partly. But also because you've gone soft. The Jinwoo I used to know would never have let his guard down. Would never have been caught in that ambush. You're distracted. Weak. The organization needs stronger leadership. And you think you can provide that. I know I can. Jinwoo looked at the 2 bodyguards. They had their hands on their weapons, ready for a signal. You're right, Jinwoo said quietly. I have changed. I've started questioning things I used to accept. Started wondering if there's another way. Weakness, maybe. Or maybe it's growth. Maybe it's realizing that the life we lead doesn't have to be all we are. Kang laughed. Listen to yourself. You sound like a philosopher. This is the crime business, Jinwoo. There's no room for philosophy. There should be. Well, there isn't. And I'm done waiting. He nodded to his bodyguards. They didn't move. Kang frowned. I said, they heard you, Jinwoo said, but they answered to me. They always did. The bodyguards stepped away from Kang. hands no longer on their weapons. What is this? This is loyalty, Kang. Something you apparently don't understand. These men have been with me for 15 years. Did you really think you could turn them with money? Kang's face went pale. Jinwoo, wait. We can discuss this. I can offer you. You can offer me nothing I want. More men emerged from the shadows. Sang-hoon, a dozen others. All loyal. All armed. You're going to kill me, Kang said. It wasn't a question. That's what the old Jinwoo would do. The one you thought you knew. Jinwoo stepped closer. But I'm trying something new. You're going to leave. Tonight, you're going to take whatever money you've hidden away and disappear. If I ever see you again, if I ever hear your name connected to any organization anywhere in Korea, then yes, I will kill you. But right now, I'm giving you what you never gave me, a chance. Kang stared at him, disbelief written on his face. Why? Because someone reminded me that we always have a choice, and I'm choosing to be different. He turned to his men. Let him go. They parted, creating a path to the door. Kang hesitated, as if waiting for a trap. Then he ran. After he was gone, Sang-hoon approached. Sir, that was unexpected. Was it wrong? I don't know. It's not how we usually handle these things. Maybe it's time to change how we handle things. Sang-hoon looked at him for a long moment. Something happened to you while you were gone. Yes. What? Jinwoo touched the jade pendant in his pocket. I remembered what it feels like to be human. The weeks that followed were chaotic. Jinwoo began restructuring the organization, moving away from the more violent operations, expanding the legitimate businesses, creating off-ramps for men who wanted out. It wasn't easy. There was resistance. Some saw his new approach as weakness. A few tried to exploit it. But Jinwoo was still Jinwoo. He handled the challenges with the same strategic brilliance that had made him boss in the first place. Just differently. No unnecessary violence. No collateral damage. Every conflict resolved with minimum harm. He was building something new. Something that might eventually become entirely legitimate. Through it all, he thought of Yuna. He called sometimes, late at night, when he couldn't sleep, just to hear her voice. How are you? She'd ask. Busy. Complicated. Alive? Alive. Then that's enough. He didn't visit. It wasn't safe yet. There were still enemies. Still people who might use his connection to her as leverage. But he was working toward the day when it would be safe, when he could go back to her apartment, ring her doorbell, and stay. 3 months after he left, Minjun received a letter, a full scholarship to the Seoul National University Summer Science Camp, all expenses paid, plus a guarantee of financial support through high school and priority consideration for university admission. Yuna called Jinwoo that night. Did you do this? Do what? The scholarship. The support. Minjun got a letter. That's wonderful. Jinwoo, did you do this? Silence. I made some calls. To people I know in education. I didn't give them money. I just vouched for him. You vouched for him. He's brilliant, Yuna. He deserves opportunities. All I did was make sure the right people knew about him. That's not nothing. It's not everything either. He still has to earn his place. I just opened a door. He's the one who has to walk through it. Yuna was quiet. I should be angry, she finally said. You went behind my back. I know. I specifically said I didn't want your help. I know. But I'm not angry. I'm grateful. God help me. But I am. Minjun is special. I couldn't watch him miss his chance because of circumstances he didn't create. You're a complicated man, Jinwoo Park. I know that too. When are you coming back? Soon, I hope. There's still work to do, but I'm getting closer. Closer to what? To being someone who deserves you. 6 months passed. Jinwoo had done the impossible. He'd transformed the Park family from a criminal syndicate into something approaching legitimate. The gambling operations were now licensed casinos. The loan sharking had become a microfinance initiative. The smuggling networks had been repurposed into legitimate import-export. It wasn't perfect. There were still gray areas, but it was different, better, and finally, it was safe. He drove to Yuna's apartment on a Sunday morning. He'd bought flowers, roses, her favorite, though she'd never told him that. He'd figured it out himself. He rang the doorbell. Minjun answered. Mr. Jinwoo, the boy, taller now, voice starting to change, threw his arms around him. You're back. Mom said you might come, but she wasn't sure. I told you I'd try. You did. For the science fair. I won, by the way. First place. I know. Your mother sent me pictures. Yuna appeared behind her son. She looked the same. Beautiful. Strong. Tired in that deep way that never quite went away. Jinwoo. Yuna. Those are flowers. They are. For me. Unless Minjun wants them. The boy made a face. I'm good. Jinwoo handed the roses to Yuna. She took them, looking at him like she couldn't quite believe he was real. You're really here. I'm really here. For how long? For good. If you'll have me. Minjun's head swiveled between them. Wait. Is this... Are you two... Go inside. Yuna said. Let me talk to Mr. Jinwoo alone. But, Minjun, the boy retreated. but not far. Jinwoo could see him watching from the window. You left your organization? Yuna asked. I transformed it. It's not what it was. Still not perfect, but getting there. I have people I trust running things. I'm more of a consultant now. A consultant. I'm retired, Yuna. As retired as someone like me can be. And you came here. I came here. She looked at the flowers, then at him. I've been waiting 6 months. I know. I'm sorry it took so long. I started to think you weren't coming. I was always coming. I just needed to make sure I could stay. And you can now? Yes. She stepped closer. This is crazy, you know. A taxi driver and a crime boss. Former crime boss. Former crime boss. Still crazy. I know. My son is watching us through the window. I know that too. If I kiss you, he's going to have a lot of questions. I'm prepared to answer them. Are you prepared for everything that comes with this? A 12-year-old who needs attention? A small apartment? A woman who works too much and worries too much and has trust issues? Yes. To all of it. Why? Jinwoo took her hands. Because that night when I got into your taxi, I was ready to die. I'd given up. Lost hope, and you drove me to safety, not because you had to, not because you owed me anything, just because you chose to be kind to a stranger. That's not, let me finish. You saved my life that night, not just the bleeding and the wounds. You saved the part of me that had forgotten what it meant to be good, to be human. You and Minjun, you showed me another way to live. Jinwoo, I love you, Yuna. I know it's fast. I know it doesn't make sense. I know I'm the last person you should trust, but I love you, and I want to spend whatever time I have left proving that I can be the man you deserve. Yuna was crying, laughing, both at once. That was a very long speech. I've been practicing, in the car, and the shower, and while I was falling asleep at night. She laughed harder. You're ridiculous. I know. I love you too. You do? Of course I do. I've loved you since you burned the first batch of rice and didn't give up. Since you helped my son with homework like it mattered. Since you looked at me like I was something precious. She kissed him, right there, in the doorway, with Minjun watching from the window and the neighbors probably watching too. When they finally broke apart, there was a face pressed against the glass. Gross, Minjun shouted through the window. But also, finally, they both laughed. Come inside, Yuna said. I'll make breakfast. You can tell Minjun about your job as a consultant. What should I tell him? About what I used to be. The truth, eventually. He's old enough to understand that people are complicated, that good people do bad things and bad people can become good. And you'll be there? To help explain? I'll be there. For everything. Jinwoo stepped inside. The apartment was small, warm, full of life. Minjun was already at the table, a million questions on his face, and Jinwoo realized that this was it, the thing he'd been searching for his whole life without knowing it. Not power, not money, not respect. Home. He'd found home. Epilogue. 5 years later, the Kim Park household, they'd kept both names, had grown. Yuna had retired from driving taxis. She ran a small cafe now, in the same neighborhood where she'd once picked up a bleeding stranger. The cafe was always full. Good food, warm atmosphere, a place where people felt welcome. Jinwoo helped with the business when he wasn't consulting, legitimately now, for companies looking to navigate complex situations. He'd discovered he had a talent for making coffee, and his espresso had developed a local reputation. Minjun was 17, in his final year of high school, already accepted to the pre-med program at Seoul National University. He still wanted to be a doctor, still wanted to help people. He also had a sister now, a 4-year-old named Hana, who had her mother's eyes and her father's stubbornness. One evening, the family sat on the roof of their building, a new building, a nicer apartment, but Yuna had insisted on staying in the same neighborhood. These were her people. Her community. Appa, Hana said, climbing into Jinwoo's lap. Tell me the story again. Which story? The one about how you met Iyama. Yuna smiled. You've heard that story 100 times. I want to hear it again. Jinwoo looked at his daughter. His daughter. Even after 5 years, the word still amazed him. Well, he began. It was a rainy night. I was lost and hurt and very, very scared, and I got into a taxi. Iyama's taxi. Yes, your Iyama's taxi. I didn't know it was hers. I just needed to get away. And then what? And then she drove me to safety. She took care of me when she didn't have to. She was kind when I didn't deserve kindness. And you fell in love? Eventually. It took time. Your Iyama is a very smart woman. She didn't trust me right away. Why not? Jinwoo glanced at Yuna. Because I had done some things I wasn't proud of. Things that made me seem scary. You're not scary, Appa. Not anymore. Your Iyama helped me become better. Hana snuggled against him. I like this story. Me too. Minjun, who'd been pretending to study, looked up. You know, when I was a kid, I thought you were weird. This stranger who showed up out of nowhere, burned rice, helped me with homework. I was weird, Jinwoo admitted. Yeah, but good weird. You didn't try to be my dad. You didn't try to replace anyone. You just showed up every day, did the work. That's all I knew how to do. It was enough. Yuna leaned against Jinwoo's shoulder. Look at us. Who would have thought? Not me, Jinwoo said. If you'd told me 6 years ago that this was my future, I wouldn't have believed you. Do you ever regret it, leaving your old life? Never. Not for a second. What about the power? The money? The respect? Jinwoo looked at his family, his daughter falling asleep in his lap, his stepson studying for his future, his wife, the woman who'd saved him in every way a person could be saved. This is power, he said. This is wealth. This is respect. Everything else was just noise. Yuna kissed his cheek. Good answer. I've had 5 years to practice. Below them, the city hummed with life. Millions of people, each with their own stories, their own struggles, their own hopes. Jinwoo had been many things in his life. A son, a criminal, a boss, a killer. But now he was something else, something he'd never expected to be. A husband, a father, a man at peace. All because a taxi driver had chosen kindness on a rainy night. All because destiny had put him in the right car at the right time. Or maybe it wasn't destiny at all. Maybe it was just chance. Random, beautiful, impossible chance. Either way, Jinwoo was grateful. He was home, and home had found him. Family, thank you so much for watching until the end. If this story touched your heart, smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment and let me know what you thought. And don't forget to hit the bell so you never miss our next story. Until next time, take care of each other. And remember, sometimes the thing that changes your life forever is as simple as getting into the wrong taxi. Or maybe, just maybe, it's the right one. See you in the next one.